Hi, I'm Sophie Kidd with the Rockbridge Report, and today I'm with Wendy Lovell. She's been the Buffalo District Representative on the Rockbridge County School Board since 2016 and is currently the chair. Thank you for coming today.
Sure, happy to be here.
First, I want to start by asking about the governor's pledge to invest more on education, specifically early childhood education. What changes do you expect to see in the Rockbridge County schools in the coming years?
Sure. Regards to that part of the funding that the governor has set aside for early learning, it will give us more spaces in our preschool programs in Rockbridge County. In fact, if we have enough students, it will double the number of early learning students that we have in the system. The challenge is getting the students into the program.
Right. So the county has to match the funding from the state government, right?
So the way I understand it is that we will have a certain amount of money from that program to use for pre-K students. If we don't enroll them, then we don't get the funding. So it's not my understanding that it's matched, but it's money that if we don't use for that purpose, we just won't get. We would love to fill those seats. Having more children who have early learning exposure will just increase their success when they get to kindergarten.
So would it just be targeted to at-risk children, or is it open to any child?
Correct. There is a need based into that calculation, and so it's not available to all children in the county, but it is geared to at-risk students.
With the sudden outbreak of the coronavirus, how is the county trying to respond to that in schools?
I don't get into the weeds in my role as school board chair, so I don't have a clear understanding of what's happening today. I do know that our superintendent is in touch with the local health departments, and they're looking for guidance from the state of Virginia and following all of the protocols that are out there.
So do you think, like compared to the flu, that it's going to be a lot more problematic, or does the school anticipate it not being a real threat?
I don't know what we're thinking currently. What I've heard about the coronavirus, it is children are not as impacted. However, with this kind of, I think it's in the public eye. It's a huge concern about spread. That will impact decisions certainly. I would imagine once there are cases in Virginia, the concern level would increase. But I'm sure we're watching it very carefully and following whatever direction we're getting from the state of Virginia.
So how has the board been dealing with the growing statewide demands to increase teacher salaries and benefits?
So we have, for several years, we've been very committed to increasing compensation for employees in our school division. So it's always great to hear that the state funding is going to increase for our schools. The challenge, however, and I think what most people don't understand, is that the money that comes from the state is geared to SOQ positions, standards of quality. So we have more employees or more teachers than are required. If we were just to hire standard of quality positions, we couldn't adequately lead our schools and teach children. So it's wonderful in one sense, but what happens is when funding is geared to SOQ positions, that means the locality has to make up the difference for all others. In some of our schools, standards of quality, based on the number of students in the school, we may qualify for half of a principal. Well, in reality, you can't have half of a principal. That's just the funding, the way the funding is determined. So it's always great to hear that we're getting funding, but I think the public needs to be aware that it's not complete funding and that it does fall to the locality. That can sometimes mean tax increases, and it's just an educational issue that we have in school funding.
So what exactly is an SOQ?
It's basically the bare minimum that you need to do a certain function. So the state of Virginia mandates X number of teachers per X number of students. So In reality, we think we need more than the standard of quality measurements to run our schools effectively.
Right.
I don't know of a school in Virginia that only has SOQ funded positions. It's just not viable.
So with the upcoming budget, how are you hoping to get more increases in funding?
We have, for the first time in a couple of years, we're actually asking not only for increased compensation for school employees, but we're asking for new positions. At the high school, we currently have 3 guidance counselors, and we would like to add a 4th. The required ratio counselor to student is currently, I think it's 1 to 300, so we are just making it with 1,000 students. We recognize that we really would like more support in the counseling office or the guidance office. We have students who are not only looking at college, but are looking at jobs out of high school, and to adequately guide them, we need more. We also have a tremendous number of health and mental health issues that having a 4th guidance staff person would really help. So that's one of the 3 positions that we're asking for. We also understand that funding for the jail is increasing, and so our hope going into it is that the Board of Supervisors recognize that the education funding we're asking for is an investment in our community, and hopefully they can help make that happen, if not completely, to some degree.
Do you hope to get more funding for the technical school as well?
That is certainly an area that we need to improve. The building is old. It's we have great staff that are doing the best they can with the facility, but the facility needs to be enhanced. That ask is not in this current budget ask. It's going to require much more, and so we're currently completing a feasibility study, and once we have that study in hand, it'll really give not only the school board but the Board of Supervisors a chance to sit down and look at planning ahead. What's it going to cost? How are we going to get there?
What other changes do you foresee in the next few years for the school board?
I think we're in a pretty good shape right now. We have a really good relationship with the Board of Supervisors. We try to be collaborative in our work with them. I think facilities improvements is the biggest thing that is going to fall upon both boards in the coming years. We have a capital improvements plan, so we are looking at things that need to happen, but renovations to the high school is kind of the big ticket item, and so working together to figure out what we need and how we're going to fund it is going to be the biggest challenge.
How has being on the school board changed your perspective on education?
It's been a wonderful opportunity to really dig in and get a feel for how schools are funded, what schools are doing. I was a parent in the system for many years, and so I've watched Rockbridge County schools from that viewpoint for a long time. But being on the school board, you see so much more. You understand how decisions are made. School funding is complicated, it's messy, it's confusing, and I feel like that, having a good understanding of how that works puts me in a better position to try to help acquire the funding we need. That said, I don't think schools are valued at a national level when it comes to funding, and so there's only so much we can do at the local level when it's not compensation for public education is not where it needs to be across the nation.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for watching.